And it is the Desert Fox signing on. Before the video starts, I'd like to say please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, and let's get on with the video. So, today's video will be about top 5 experiments in the Soviet Union. Number 1, Collie. So, Collie was an experiment, about understanding and building robots. Now you see, the Soviet Union, in 1949, let's just say they didn't have the best computers. So, they decided, what are we going to do? We can't use computers. Well, they decided on taking out a dog's head and putting it in the suit. Experiment in 1952 was successful on keeping the dog's head alive, detached from its body, with a machine known as the auto-ejector. They were able to plug this into the robot on the dog's head, and it successfully stayed alive. However, the experiment was abandoned in the 1960s to go to more interesting things such as the space race. Number 2. So, number 2. Number 2, the plane. So this plane was, I forget the name currently, but this plane was supposed to be sort of a air/water plane, almost like a boat, but not quite exactly. You see, it was made to evade radar, because they figured out if you could barely hover over the water but not be in it, if you could be in the sky but barely be in the sky, you're almost non-detectable on radar. They're able to make the plane a certain size to where it was undetectable. Now, if the plane was ever used in an actual war, the plane would be devastating to coasts, because you could never detect it was coming. 2, it was devastating with all the missiles and guns, because the weight on it had to be balanced out. So they thought, instead of putting more armor and just metal on it as a weight, put more guns, rockets, and other such things on it. So this would be a warship with wings. It'd be quite devastating to a coast. An invasion would be almost guaranteed successful by using this plane. The plane went around 200 to 300 miles per hour. However, it was very heavy, obviously, with all the guns, troops, and other such things. Now, the plane was eventually abandoned in the collapse of the Soviet Union. However, before that, the hopes are very high to actually see this one day in warfare. Number 3, the Soviet mole tank. Now, originally this project was in World War II, and it was a German invention. However, after the war, the Soviets claimed the blueprints to the mole tank. The tank, it was amphibious, underground, and land. So it's all 3. Now, after long studies of it, the Russians decided, let's produce it a nuclear version instead, so it could maybe go a lot further than just diesel. So this would be altogether mostly a failed project due to overexposure to radiation in the early testing phases, which is a little concerning, and just overall had a hard time going through the earth, had water leaks, plus it was too noisy. If it was planning to be a stealth operation, you have to be deep underground. So altogether, the project was abandoned, and the Soviets concluded that it was too hard to become a reality for the Soviet Union at that time. Number 4. Spiral. Now, the secret project of the Soviet Union, Spiral, was supposed to be the Soviet Union's most ambitious and best at space attempt. You see, this would be a 5-step plan. First, a rocket booster, like a normal spaceship. Then, a second rocket booster. Then, it would go hyperfuel, or no, go into orbit. However, this thing had a little trick up its sleeve. Other than normal spaceships, you just land and send a guy on the moon. This spaceship could carry a nuclear payload. Plus, it could also carry other payloads such as chemical warfare. You see, now, even till this day, that might be, maybe, probably the best spaceship currently known to man, Spiral. However, for some odd reason, it was discontinued, mostly because of politics in the Soviet Union, and that's kind of stupid, because if it's your most ambitious space project, what could probably boot up the defense of the country by 60-70%, and you just discontinue it randomly, it's a little strange. What was most likely happening is the politics of the Soviet Union, arguing, bickering, led to it not being fully constructed. However, the project will hold memories as a very interesting project. Now, whatever happened to the pieces of Spiral in the spaceship is unknown. I will be moving on to part 5. And finally, at number 5, we have the Supersoldier experiments. The experiments were in the 50s, and well, they were pretty gruesome. These experiments, well, involve taking the bones out of people and replacing them with titanium alloys. Plus, with brain experiments, they put in golden nails. You see, the Soviet Union were interested by what the Roman gladiators did. And you see, we never could figure out why did the gladiators have golden nails in their brains. Now, for years, people just thought, well, it's probably ritualistic. However, the Soviet Union concluded that it was for the gladiators to stop feeling pain. With the introduction to gold into the brain, they figured out that you will stop feeling pain because your neurons will have a small disconnect between your spinal cord. So, you'll be unable to feel pain. Many other types of this treatment were experimented with, such as spring-filled legs, or such others. One officer was found with a metal chest, simply titanium. Now, the experiments were concluded as failing because, as it sounded well, having your soldiers not feel pain, in practice it was useless. Because if your soldier gets frostbite or breaks a leg or two, well, you just wasted a bunch of gold, plus he's not going to be able to feel it. Or if he's getting frostbite, and he can prevent that, but he doesn't feel that, what's the use? Plus, replacing a person's whole body with a titanium skeleton was damn near impossible. Plus, if it was successful, it would just rust inside you, or your body would just eject it altogether and you would die upon the end of the surgery. So, I hope you like this video. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And this has been the Desert Fox, signing off.